It had been a long year for Emily and her family. Between the endless meetings at work, her husband Mark's long hours at the firm, and their kids juggling school projects, life had become one endless routine. So when Mark suggested they finally take a week off for a family vacation, Emily didn't hesitate. They needed it, time away from the noise, away from the constant hum of their busy suburban life. They picked a small cabin in the Smoky Mountains, a quiet getaway surrounded by tall evergreens and fresh mountain air. Emily could already imagine the laughter of their kids, Mia and Josh, echoing through the woods. It was supposed to be the perfect break, a time to reconnect and just breathe. The morning they left, the sun was already peeking over the horizon. Emily stood in the driveway, helping Mia zip up her bright yellow jacket. "You excited, sweetheart?" she asked. "More than excited," Mia grinned. "I want to see a bear." Mark laughed from behind the car as he loaded the last of their bags. "Let's hope we don't get that close to nature." The drive was peaceful. The kids sang along to old songs on the radio. Emily leaned against the window watching the rolling hills fade into mountains. Everything felt perfect, until they reached the cabin. At first glance, it was beautiful, a rustic wooden house with a wraparound porch and a view that could take your breath away. But something about it felt strange. It wasn't anything obvious, just a quiet stillness in the air, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Emily brushed it off. Vacations were supposed to feel different, after all. Inside, the cabin smelled faintly of pine and old wood. A large stone fireplace dominated the living room, and sunlight filtered through sheer curtains. The kids ran upstairs to pick their rooms while Mark started unpacking. That evening, as they cooked dinner together, the strange feeling returned. Emily caught herself glancing at the window, half expecting someone to be standing outside. When she told Mark, he smiled gently. "You're just adjusting. We've been in the city too long. Out here, silence feels strange." He was right, or so she thought. The first night, a thunderstorm rolled in. The wind howled, shaking the branches outside. Mia crept into her parents' room, her little face pale. "Mommy, can I sleep here? The trees are too loud." Emily pulled her close. "Of course, baby." She tucked her under the blanket, humming softly until the storm faded into the rhythm of rain. The next morning, everything seemed normal again. The sun was bright, the air crisp. They went hiking, took pictures, and even built a small fire near the creek. But that afternoon, while tidying the living room, Emily found something odd, a small envelope wedged behind a drawer in the old desk. It was yellowed and brittle, sealed with a faded red wax stamp. Her name wasn't on it. In fact, it had no name at all. Curiosity got the better of her. She opened it carefully, revealing a short handwritten note. "If you're reading this, please forgive me. I didn't mean to leave it unfinished." That was all. No signature. No explanation. When she showed Mark, he frowned thoughtfully. Probably just an old letter someone forgot. These rental cabins must see hundreds of guests. Still, Emily couldn't shake the unease. That night, she heard soft footsteps on the porch. When she peeked through the curtain, no one was there. Only the wind. The next few days carried more strange moments, a rocking chair that seemed to move on its own, faint humming coming from the attic. Mark tried to reassure her. "You're letting your imagination run wild, Em." But when Mia told her she saw a sad man by the window, Emily's heart sank. "Sweetie, what man?" "The one who lost his letter," Mia said simply. Emily exchanged a nervous look with Mark. It could have been a coincidence, a child's imagination, but something about her tone felt sincere. Later that night, while everyone was asleep, Emily sat by the fireplace with the letter in her hands. She stared at the flickering flames, wondering about the person who wrote it. Didn't mean to leave it unfinished. What did that mean? She turned the paper over, and noticed faint writing on the back she hadn't seen before. The words were almost invisible in the dim light. Sometimes, the hardest goodbyes are the ones never said. A chill ran through her. The following morning, Emily decided to visit the nearest town, hoping someone might know the cabin's history. The local cafe owner, an elderly woman named Ruth, recognized it immediately. "Oh, that old place," Ruth said, wiping her hands on her apron. "A man named Henry built it decades ago. He was a writer, I think. Lived there with his wife. They say he disappeared during a storm one night and never came back." Emily's heart skipped a beat. When she returned, she told Mark everything. He listened quietly before placing his hand over hers. "Maybe that's why the place feels strange," he said softly. "It's carrying their memories." That evening, as the family gathered around the fire, Emily read the letter aloud. The kids listened wide-eyed. So he never got to finish his story? Josh asked. No, Emily said gently. But maybe we can finish it for him. Together, they decided to write their own story in honor of the mysterious writer, about family, forgiveness, and second chances. Each of them added a line, laughter echoing through the cabin as they passed the notebook around. As the storm outside cleared, Emily felt a warmth in her chest. The unease that once lingered was gone, replaced by a deep sense of peace. On their last morning, she stepped out onto the porch, the air crisp and golden. The forest was alive again, the wind whispering softly through the pines. She smiled, holding the letter one last time before tucking it under a loose floorboard near the fireplace. Maybe some stories weren't meant to end. Maybe they were meant to continue through those who came after. When they drove away, Emily looked back at the cabin. For a brief moment, she thought she saw a figure standing by the window, a man smiling faintly, as if saying thank you. And for the first time all week, the woods felt still, but not silent. Peaceful. The road stretched ahead, sunlight spilling through the trees, and Emily leaned her head against Mark's shoulder. Best vacation ever, Mia said from the back seat. Emily smiled. Yeah, she whispered. It really was.